Hey, this is Lucas. Today we're going to talk about the Z1 polyurethane differential bushing kit for your Infiniti Q50, Q60. Let's talk a little bit about why you want to upgrade to urethane diff bushing. So this is stock bushing. It's a soft rubber silicone filled bushing. Over time, these can crack and leak. If you look up under the rear of your car, subframe, see the black silicone dripping down your subframe onto the diff, making a mess. You know you've got a failed stock bushing. You let that go too long, you can start to hear an audible thud between gear changes, and that's your differential hop around inside your subframe. So with urethane, you're not going to have any of that. What this is going to do is help to transfer and deliver that torque to the ground more consistently and more efficiently than what the factory bushing would. So with that being said, let's take a look at what's included in the kit. So up front, this is the front bushings, and if you've seen our other bushing kits for like 350 to 370, similar concept up here. So the urethane, all the urethane in this kit is 80 Ashore durometer, and that's gonna give you a good blend between comfort and performance. So the front bushings, these guys are going to help to reduce that torsional or twist load that the differential is subjected to. Rear bushings, the same 80 Ashore as up in the front. The center sleeve is going to be a clear zinc coated mild steel. As we move to the rest of the kit, this is where it's going to start to vary quite a bit here. So also included with this kit is going to be this rear subframe sleeve, and reason being is when you remove the factory bushing, this sleeve is going to come with it. So there will be no sleeve inside of the subframe, which we'll pull up on the table here in a minute and show you. But no sleeve in the subframe, hence the reason for this subframe sleeve. So let's take a closer look kind of at the components that make up this subframe sleeve. So orient ourselves here, front of the vehicle, rear of the vehicle. So you're going to have the front sleeve, 3 1mm shims, and the rear sleeve, all held together here by these 10 M4 bolts. So this sleeve is going to come fully assembled to you just like this. And let's take a look real quick at and we'll explain a little bit further when we bring a subframe up on the table here. But the distance here between this face and this face, let's refer to that as the theoretical distance between the front of the subframe and the rear of the subframe. And we'll pull a subframe up here and kind of talk about that distance and how that distance may change on you and how the shims come into play. All right, guys, so we got a spare subframe up on the table here, just to orient ourselves here. Front of the vehicle, rear of the vehicle. All right, to explain more so why it's a two-piece design rather than a single piece. So again, the distance between this surface and this surface can shrink on you depending on your level of success removing the factory bushing or pressing in that rear sleeve. And what's gonna happen, since there's no support between these two surfaces, is this is actually gonna collapse and compress on you a little bit. And that's the reason, again, for the two-piece with the shims. To further kind of demonstrate that, we've got another subframe with the rear sleeve pressed in that we'll throw up on the table and kind of explain that shimming process to you guys. All right, guys, so we got our other subframe with the rear sleeve pressed in here. And this is pressed up again, this lip all the way flush with this face of the subframe. So pressing this in, again, freezer fit on this piece. So before you even get started on doing this, go ahead and pop this piece in the freezer so it's ready to go when you're ready to press it in. As far as actually pressing the piece in, so we recommend a wood block covering the face of this and tap it in with a hammer. Reason being, that wood block is gonna distribute that load evenly across this sleeve here and help to, along with the large chamfer on the piece, help to center that part into the bore to make sure you're going in nice and square. So with this piece in, we'll move to the front side of the subframe and look at how the shimming process is gonna play out for this particular subframe. So at this point, we'll check compression, if there is any, on the rear subframe. So we'll grab our shims and the rear sleeve. So first step, we'll go ahead and load all 3 in here. So grab a couple bolts. And again, the goal is to have the lips of that front sleeve make contact and sit flush on this surface here. So grab our 3 shims. And so we got our 3 shims loaded in. Grab the rear sleeve, and this piece is going to be clearance fit on the back here, so it's going to be free to rotate, so you can index it and line your holes up. So all right, so we've got our shims in, our bolts tight, and you can see here that we do have a gap between this face and that face on the subframe. So from here, we want to remove shims and ensure that face does touch the subframe here. So that's a pretty large gap. So we did compress the subframe a bit, which again is fine. This kit allows for some of that flexibility. So we'll pull the shims out and put the rear sleeve back in and see what our gap looks like on the inside. All right, so got it unbolted. Pull our shims out. Put this piece back in. And so here you can see that we're contacting without it bolted up yet. You can see we're gonna contact on this face with the lip of the rear sleeve, as well as we're gonna have, you know, minimal, little to no gap on the inside there. So that's gonna be, you know, less than 1 millimeter. So that's gonna pull together when we bolt the rest of it up here. So let's go ahead and run our bolts in. All right, so from here, you can see we're flush on this surface, and we have no gap between. So in this case, we didn't use any of the shims, and again, that was just due to the compression of the subframe from, you know, removing the old bushing or inserting the new rear sleeve. So the only thing from here left to do is to push in the rear urethane bushing and button everything else back up on the car, and you're good to go. So key points on the diff bushing, again, cut out the factory bushing, clean and prep the subframe bore, and freezer fit on the rear sleeve. So that wraps up this video. If you have any other questions, be sure to check out the product listing on zewomotorsports.com. If you like this product, you want to check out some of our other Q Driveline products, look at the Z1 subframe collars, as well as the Z1 differential brace. That's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.